pull away from his Democratic challenger. It's one of the many races across this country showing the momentum is now on the side of the GOP, in large part thanks to President Trump. In fact, check this out. These are his poll numbers. According to Gallup, over the last month, his approval rating has jumped 6 points. And a Wall Street Journal NBC poll has his approval rating up 3 points. Joining me now, Fox News contributor Jammu Green, and from the National Taxpayer Union, Mattie Duppler. Jammu, let me start with you. First of all, it's great seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
You came to New York, and Trump is going to your home state of Texas. Let's start with the macro picture, the big picture. President Trump, in a variety of these polls, looks like he's got some serious momentum going there. I'm not one to worry about the absolute number when it comes to polling, but I think momentum does tell us something.
It makes perfect sense because the president is out there. He is campaigning. I'm not sure exactly how he's getting the business of the White House, the administration done, but he is campaigning. He has told his team to get him in front of media as much as possible. And the reason he escalated those efforts is because of how much danger Republicans were in. Now, Democrats come into this as a deficit. Our voters don't usually vote during midterms. Young people, people of color don't usually turn out in larger numbers. But here's the thing. President Trump is driving enthusiasm for Democrats. The more he speaks, the more he puts himself out there, the more it's likely that Democrats are going to continue to see their enthusiasm.
From Republicans, from
and
President
that
Trump
Kavanaugh bump, we're moving further and further away from the Kavanaugh confirmation. And so that is going to be a little bit forgotten. President Trump has the ability to put his foot in his mouth in a way that could mobilize even more Democrats than ever thought before.
In the meantime, Mattie, I'm seeing packed stadiums. It looks like college football games. I think Bernie Sanders got about 190 folks that come to his rally over the weekend. So there's a core group of Republican voters who are motivated big time by President Trump. And I think Jammu is right.
Absolutely.
The Republican Party themselves, a lot of those candidates, I don't know what it is, if they're lackluster, they're too old school politicians, whatever it is, they don't know how to bring the crowd to life the way President Trump has been able to.
Charles, why are you always making me come on this show and be the eternal optimist here? I think we've got some great candidates out there in the field, but also the numbers on Donald Trump, it's hard to say that that's a good story for Democrats for two reasons. Democrats have a disadvantage in midterms. Their voters do not turn out because their voters tend to be younger, and we know those are the people who don't like to come out when there isn't a presidential election and cycle. Secondly, for the whole Democrat premise to work, their entire election strategy is to be against President Trump, to be the members of the resistance. We see this everywhere in the news every single day. For that to work, it needs to work in states that Trump has been successful in. In the Senate, you've got 10 Democrats who are running in states where Trump won by a 19-point margin or more. And then in the House side, it's the same story. You've got Democrats who are running in districts where Trump won maybe by a couple points, or maybe even Hillary Clinton won, but they're not landslide victories. It's hard to see that mandate is brewing for Democrats.
Right.
Instead, Democrats need to be able to show they can work with the president. That hasn't been a part of the electoral conversation yet.
You know, it's interesting. In the Gallup tracking poll, the differential between approval and disapproval is 11 points, right? From -18 to -7. You mentioned young Democratic voters, Jammu. I look at your party and I see it's still the older folks. It's the Bernie Sanders, it's the Hillary Clintons, it's the Steny Hoyers, and these guys are fighting for Joe Biden's, and who are these folks who are still hogging up the headlines. And do you think this could be the midterm, if you don't get the House, where finally the Democrats say, okay, out with the old, in with the new?
Look, you're right about who's hogging up the headlines, but what's happening at the grassroots, and I've seen this because through an organization I work with, I go around the country training women to run for office. What's happening at the grassroots, you've got all of these first-time candidates, these barrier breakers who are running. There's something like 1,000 more women running for state-led seats around the country, and they are connecting with new voters in a way that the old school Democrats have not been able to. And I think, sometimes we look for coattails. I think we're going to be able to see some of that enthusiasm rise up from these more grassroots candidates. Right. But to this national dialogue that's going on, Mitch McConnell just delivered what is not necessarily an October surprise, but an October reveal of the true colors of the Republican Party to mess with Social Security, mess with Medicare.
All right.
And those are the voters who care about those issues. They are the ones who vote in larger numbers in midterms. And that was a gift that he should not have given Democrats.
Jammu, thank you very much. Mattie, thank you very much, folks. The Dow Jones Industrial Average now off 118 points. We'll be right back.